that in mind. Right? Did you know that a project charter is one of the requirements in developing your project management plan and your subsidiary plans? It's an input to about 15 of the 49 processes. How many people here listening to me, when you've done your estimates, you just say, okay, let's add 15%, 10%, 20% for contingency. You don't do any risk management. You don't look at your assumptions or anything like that. Many people do that. Do you know that you can use your project charter, especially when you are in a functional organization where you don't have a lot of support, where you are not even recruited to be a project manager? And this is the next point we'll look at. Most people are just what we call accidental project managers, where you can use your project charter with your sponsor, with your boss, to work with this person. And a lot of people don't even have a project charter. So if you're working on a project without a project charter, develop one. Work with your boss, and then get your boss, especially if you are going to use resources, resources from other departments, let your boss talk to those functional heads. Let your boss initiate a kickoff meeting, invite those functional heads, invite the key stakeholders. And if the CEO is available, let him or her be invited as well, so that they all are in that kickoff meeting. And your boss takes the floor, introduces the project, introduces you as the project manager. You now continue to lead the meeting. You go to the project charter, explain the vision of the project, the purpose of the project, the budget, the timeline, the key stakeholders, the objectives of the project, and so on. Why the project is there, the fact that these managers are there, the fact that the CEO is there, the fact that this document is a formal document of the organization, already empowers you, because you are going to work with people that are not in your department, but their bosses are also in that meeting. So when next you need support, you will get it. But like most people do, they try and run the project on their own. They try and walk in the dark. They try and go to other departments and talk to people. You're not going to get much support at your level. How many people do lessons learned, where they're actually capturing from the start of the project right to the end of the project? It's like a diary of your life. A project has a beginning and an end, just like a human being's life. Imagine if you are keeping a diary of the lessons you learn. And in life, we learn most lessons from challenges, from problems. Usually, we don't even have an issue log in most of our projects. So how would we even know how to catalog our issues? And then if we're not doing lessons learned, how are we going to learn as we go from the start of the project right to the end? And then future projects tomorrow, how are they going to know how we survived, how we went over our challenges, how we resolved our issues? We don't do these things. We don't do these things. And another area there where we practice very poorly is the closing of projects. Usually when the members of the team sense that the project is about to end, they just take off. They just take off and go to the next project or their other operational activities. We don't close the accounts of the project. We don't close the activities with our contractors. We don't do any audits. We don't do any filing of documentation and so on. Even when it comes to transferring the deliverables to the customer, we don't do it formally. I was talking to one of my students last weekend. She is an events planner, and I said, you are an entrepreneur. Do you do formal, does your customers do formal acceptance? And especially when it comes to events. Events are very emotional things like weddings, funerals, and things like that. Make sure that they sign even a one-page document with the key deliverables they tick and make comments, and then they sign to cover your back. Tomorrow, you know how people are. They'll come and say, oh, you did not do this, you did not do that, And if you don't have something that is written, that shows that the person has agreeably accepted the deliverables, you keep yourself exposed. You leave yourself very exposed. The fourth point in our hall of shame is toxic leaders. Toxic leaders. Now, let me say this. I know I'm talking about project management, but when we talk about leaders, it cuts across the board, from our government leaders, church leaders, business leaders, leaders in families, you name it. Leaders can be, when we look at leaders, it's not necessarily, we're talking of the position that they have, but also the attitudes that they exhibit when they're dealing with us. And there are some shocking statistics. And if you think about this, most of these statistics are coming from the Western and Asiatic nations. Just listen to these statistics. 50% of employees have cited bad leadership and management as their main reason for leaving a job. 79% of people leave their job because they don't feel appreciated. 79%. I was training a gentleman, an Italian guy, works in a company, a maintenance company in Dubai. And he took on a project in his company. He's been in his company for more than 10 years. And he said that a lady in his team did a good job, and he appreciated the lady. And the lady came back and said, in 10 years I've been working here, nobody has told me that I did something well. I'm like, what? I mean, when that guy told me that, I kept repeating and saying, I just can't believe it. In 10 years, nobody has appreciated her. I'm surprised she was still in that job for 10 years. Only 11% of companies believe that they have strong leadership. 11%. 10% of all business leaders have a natural talent for leading. Yes, if you don't have a natural talent, you can still learn it, but they are not learning it. 80% of companies struggle with finding employees with relevant leadership skills. An outstanding 40% of leaders will fail in their first 18 months of their job. Another statistic, 76% describe their bosses as toxic, and they will trust strangers more over their superiors. Can you imagine that? And a similar percentage say that their immediate boss is the most stressful part of their job. I mean, this is shocking. It tells us that we who are bosses are toxic on the whole. Think about it. Look at Ghana, look at Africa, look at the people that are governing us, the heads of political parties, the heads of opposition, the heads of the police, the heads of the army, the heads of governments. They are power hungry, proud people, angry people, dishonest people, insecure people, full of their ego, power hungry, abusive, tribalistic, manipulative. Trust me, I'm 53 years old. I know what I'm talking about. I've been part of forums that we've created for leadership in my country, in Cameroon, where we have one guy who has been there for 40 years. He was prime minister for 8 years, and he's been president for 40 years. He's like a zombie. But all his tribes people have taken over all the top jobs, and they don't care about what is happening. A country with very smart people, with all the resources, but it's terrible. The fifth point in our hall of shame is accidental project managers. Keep in mind that word accidental. So we use what we call in human resource management, the halo effect. So what happens in organizations is your boss thinks, okay, maybe you are a good engineer, oh, I have this great project, so I'll give it to this engineer. So because he's a good engineer, that means he's going to be a good project manager. Who says so? Project management is not about engineering. I'm an engineer. I'm telling you that when I realized that I had to move from engineering to management and leadership, that was the best thing I ever did. Project management is a people thing. It's about communication. It's about people. If you're not good with people, if you're not a strong person that can deal with people, people can all their biases, you are not going to do well in project management. So what happens is people just tumble in the project management role. They get an email or their boss strolls into the office, okay, there's this project that we want you to handle. Okay, so you'll be using your old skills, which are all bad anyway, or you'll be borrowing skills from people around you. You'll be taking advances from other accidental project managers in the company because most of them they have not been trained. They don't have any certification. No wonder we have all these problems. So every day we see that, okay, everywhere people claim to be doing projects, 38% are certified, 32% they are official project managers but are not certified.
Unfortunately, it looks like we've lost James. Kindly hold on, we'll get him reconnected. And then you can get your, okay, sure. Thank you. But you can get your questions coming. I can see some questions, some hands up. So you can keep your questions coming in the chat. And then when he's done, we would take some questions and then we'll have discussions around them.
Thank you, Charles. My Zoom connection just rebooted itself. So sorry about that. So as I was saying, a lot of project managers just stumble into the role. They were not trained for it there. Please mute yourself. Thank you. So when we look at the number of certified project managers, there are few. So we are playing catch up, and we find a lot of project managers, despite the fact that they are not trained, they are not certified, they don't have a lot of support from their top management. They are handling more than one project at a time. Last year, I trained a guy from the US. He was training, a constructions company. When we started, it was a 4-day training. This is not Staple, another company. This guy, at the beginning of the training, had 4 projects. He was a senior project manager. By the end of the training, they had sent him a mail giving him a 5th project. And he was just like, I've just been promoted in this role and they're giving me so many projects. I mean, how do you run 5 projects at the same time? The 6th item in our hall of shame are what we call white elephants. No, in project management, white elephants are projects that cost a lot of money, but they just had no useful purpose, so they just abandoned them. This is in Germany, and I've touched on, some unlikely customers in this one. The Berlin-Brandenburg Airport was targeted to open in 2011 with a budget of 2 billion. It finally cost 7.3 billion. No surprises there in terms of the cost overrun, but not used. The Montreal Olympic Stadium for the Montreal Olympics cost $1 billion. Useless. Ciudad Real Airport in Spain cost 1 billion. It opened okay, struggled for 3 years, and the last planes left in 2012. And the site is just abandoned. Even people don't want to buy it. The last bid to buy the site was a meager $10,000. This is in China, new South China Mall in Dongguan. Cost 1.3 billion, opened in 2005, 2,300 stores, not used. You can see there's nobody there. This is Britain, the National Center for Popular Music. Cost $11 million. It was for the Millennium celebration. I was in the UK at this time. I even had my first child born in 2000, so Millennium baby, but not used, a white elephant. So I'm going to close by asking a question, and we're in Africa, so and Africa is, as you can see from the slide, it's always been interesting, you know, for outsiders, the Chinese, the Soviets, the Turks, the Brazilians, the Europeans, the Americans. Everybody wants a piece of Africa. So if Africa was a project, let's say born at the time of humanity, if you're a Bible believer like me, let's say 6,000 years, where God gave all humankind dominion over things on earth, things in the air, and things in the sea. So you see that nobody was left out. Everybody was well blessed. But Africa somehow, mother of humanity, is so blessed. So I'm going to take us through a walk down history's lane. Now, when we look at the things that Africans have done through time, like the great universities in Mali, the great pyramid of Giza and the Sphinx, and how did our ancestors manage to set the coordinates of the Great Pyramid of Giza at 29.9792458 degrees north, which, of course, it was not a coincidence, is corresponding to the speed of light. How did they do that? How come that modern engineers who are building skyscrapers cannot figure out how these millions of stones cut perfectly were put together? I mean, if you look, I can give you several facts about this monumental building that have stood for thousands of years. It even has a natural air conditioning system. It has doors. There are doors in there which weigh tons. I mean, doors of stone, and you can open them. Stones, cut stones of weighing tons. How come our ancestors of old could build universities? If you read the Bible, you see in Acts chapter 7, verse 22, it says, Moses was learned in all the wisdom of the Egyptians. It's not the Egyptians I see today. It's like you and me today. Africans, they built huge universities. Look at the statues. This is the entrance of the Temple University of Karnak in Ipet, Isut. By the way, I'm a big student of history. Built around 2000 BC. So Moses went to schools like this. At a time when he was at his height, he had 80,000 students. How many universities today have 80,000 students? Look at the size of that entrance. Look at the people. These are real photographs. And this is the same university, even though it's ruins, span over 1.8 kilometers by 800 meters with 134 giant pillars. How did they do that? These were excellent centers of learning where people came from all over the world to study in Africa. God even saw that it was necessary to save Jesus' life by taking him to Africa. Africans who created a calendar, the calendar that we know today of 365 days. Time was created by Africans, but we are the worst when it comes to timekeeping. What went wrong? Our ancestors could read the stars, just putting stones. You think that is just ordinary stones. This is from the 6th century BC in Naptaplaya in Nubia. I can give you examples of the same thing happening in places in Kenya, in South Africa, where these stones are directed to constellations in the planetary space, you know. And this is a satellite photograph of the stones connected to celestial bodies that we know today. Pleiades, Taurus, Orion, and so on. How come a small tribe in West Africa called the Dogon, only about 100,000 people, how come these guys know astronomy so much so that they can plot the orbit of Cyrus C and Cyrus B? And if you look at their diagram, that these ancients, they can plot it on the sand. It's the same as what you use expensive telescopic equipment from Europe and America to give the same trajectory. And they understand, they will explain to you all the orbits and what happens from year to year with these stars. How come that the Edo people today, you don't even hear about the Edo people? Frankly, if you want to hear anything about the Edo people, it's negative. These are the Edo people in Nigeria who set up this wall. We hear about the Great Wall of China, but the Wall of Benin is many times the Wall of China. These are just remnants of that same wall today. If you look at satellite images of that wall, it's just incredible. A wall that enclosed 11,000 kilometers. Are you joking? The same Edo people who in their palaces, they had lambs many years before the Europeans came to Africa. Lambs that use palm oil. Street lambs that, you know, that lead the entrance to the palace of the king. And these are some of the bottom left, there you see some of the lambs that the Portuguese found. And of course, when they came to Africa, they took a lot of the things. This is Great Zimbabwe, Monomotapa. How come our ancestors could erect structures like there's no mortar between those stones? Those stones were just put together. There's no mortar between them. And they are still standing today. How come people say that Africans don't know how to write or oral tradition? It's because something has gone wrong. But our forefathers, our ancestors, 5,000 years ago, invented writing all over Africa. The Ethiopians, the Mende people, the Vai people in Sierra Leone, in Liberia, the Cross River people in Cameroon and Nigeria, they have this in CBD. This is my people where I come from. The hieroglyphs all over Africa, they were writing. How come? That even our brothers and sisters who were taken over to America, people like Benjamin Banneker, this guy was incredibly talented. He didn't even go to school, but he produced astronomical reports. And I'll tell you a story. When the American founding fathers were trying to design the capital, they were trying to do a survey map of Washington, D.C. They called the French architects to help them. You know, the French are very good at design. And something happened in the project, and the French had to leave. They got angry. And they left. They took all their drawings. But this young man, Benjamin Banneker, was working with them. Benjamin Banneker did not only reproduce what they did, but he completed the work from memory. And this is his design. This guy even came out with a clock made of wooden parts. There's so many things he did. It's incredible. How come? People like Garrett Morgan, the guy who one day saw in America cars, in those days, cars having an accident in a traffic intersection. Then he thought, this is very stupid. By having somebody move in front of the car or, trying to tell the others to stop. So he came up with a traffic light that we use today, the green, amber, red, even the gas marks that we use for wars. How come even the History Channel did a documentary where they went to some places in Africa and they saw designs of helicopters, aeroplanes, and even models cut out of metal. And you're wondering, were Africans flying around the 3rd and 4th century before Christ? Even the Greeks who came to study in Africa, like Clement of Alexandria said, if a book of 1,000 pages was to be written about the names of all the Greeks who went to Africa to study, okay, mostly Egypt, it will not be enough. Aristotle, that you guys know about, he said Egypt is the cradle of mathematics. That is the origin for Greek mathematics. So the Greeks studied in Africa. I've done a lot of study on this. Herodotus says, the father of history, he says, Egypt has a lot of admirable things. And what one sees there is superior to any other country. Eudemus said the Egyptians were the first to have invented geometry. Homer said in medical knowledge, Egypt leaves the rest of the world behind. So all these guys, Pythagoras, we did Pythagoras' theorem, but it is not Pythagoras who invented that theorem. He learned it in Africa. They came to Egypt, some came to Mali. Let me tell you, today we hear of Oxford University, Cambridge University, Sorbonne, the great universities in England, in Spain, in France. Most of the people who founded those universities came to study in Africa, and they went to set up those universities or replicas in Italy, in Greece, in Spain, in France, and so on. Even the fact that people wear these, you see these ceremonial robes when they graduate, that's an African invention. I can go on and on. But if Africa was a project that somehow in the past we did some great things that are still testament of our greatness, even though there have been, people have tried to destroy them, even though they have tried to say, no, it was not African, because they are looking at the African today. What has gone wrong? So if Africa was a project that started, say, 5,000 years ago, what has been the outcome? What are we seeing now? What are we seeing now? If you look at Africa, you are seeing a symmetry of mega projects that never saw the light of day, what are called white elephants. Projects, for example, in Nigeria, just as an example, in the 20 years between 2002 and 2022, 56,000 projects were abandoned, worth $26 billion. Abandoned. Usually, these are projects that governments came and made a lot of noise. They started and they couldn't finish. Why? Corruption, bad leadership, lack of the capability and capacity to run these projects, poor planning, lack of sustainability plans, and of course, no accountability. We don't hold our governments accountable. How many good governments can you count in Africa today? Do you even trust your civil servants and politicians? How are we delivering in our public service projects? And so on. So you see a huge continent with so many resources. 162 billion coming in every year. 203 billion going out. Former French President Francois Mitterrand said, Jacques Chirac said, without Africa, France will slide down to the rank of a third world power. And he was very frank. He said, we bled Africa for 4.5 centuries. We looted their raw materials. Then we're told they were good for nothing. In the name of religion, their culture was destroyed, and now we must do things more elegantly. We steal their brain through scholarships. Then we see that the unhappy African is not in a brilliant condition. It does not generate elites. After being rich at his expense, we give them lessons. Pitiful. So what's the outcome? Misery, poverty, hunger, famine, abuse of human rights. When you look on the Transparency International score in terms of good governance, Africa ranks bottom, highest in corruption. You know, tribalism. We find it even in our companies. We want to employ somebody that speaks our language. In some companies, that is just so normal. You know, our politicians practice what I call belly politics. And then the majority of the population is just, you know, scrounging for the leftovers. We are terrible in timekeeping, even though we invented time. 90% of our books are for academia, 5% for leisure. So we don't read. You know, our education system is very colonial. It's not fashion for us to be entrepreneurs or leaders, fashion for us to be employees. Just imagine if our education system was more technical, more entrepreneurial. Imagine if we learned about money, how to start and run businesses, how to be creative. If we learn project management and practical skills. And we always think that something from outside is better than from inside. And so the outcome is, you know, our young people are dying in the desert, you know, trying to cross over to Europe. I've got some terrible experiences, you know, of people, young people that I know that have died in the desert. They are dying in the Mediterranean Sea. They are enslaving themselves as domestic workers in the Middle East, and they are treated like slaves. Our hospitals are not good for our leaders. The top politicians, top government officials have set up projects to build hospitals. But when they get sick, when their wives get sick, when their children get sick, they fly them abroad. We look at Nigeria. Nigeria produces a lot of crude oil, but only, say, 40% of the refineries are working. It forces somewhere like Dangote to set up probably one of the world's biggest refineries, because the ones that the government has set up have been abandoned through corruption, through mismanagement. It's not that they cannot work, but people deliberately are so toxic that they prefer to line their pockets and everybody else, you know, can fend for themselves. So find abandoned projects everywhere in Africa. The whole landscape is littered by white elephants. Now we are building buildings and they're all crumbling. This particular one is in Kenya, and many people died, you know, because poor project management practices. People are trying to cut corners. There's so much corruption. We are getting permits from the city council, which are not real permits. Nobody goes to check the materials that they are using on the building site and so on. The left picture is from Ghana, abandoned tractors, you know, and the right is from Cameroon, abandoned tractors. You know, Cameroon is very big on agriculture, but there was an agricultural show some, say, 10 years ago, and they brought a lot of tractors. Since we can't make tractors, of course, you know, we are being trained to work for somebody else. They were from China. Even the president rode on that tractor, but they are all been abandoned in the bush. So what is the outcome? Desperation, poverty. If Africa was a project, you would say that it has failed, terribly failed. So I'd like to thank you for your kind attention. And you've been a good sport. Thank you very much.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. So if you've been fired up, I would want you to just put something in the chat room. I will pick the questions soon. Maybe we can say thank you, James. Just put something in the chat room. Let's appreciate him. Let's appreciate him. Yeah. Yeah, keep it coming. Yeah, I agree. That's so excellent. That's so excellent. Keep it coming. All right, so let me take some questions. So let me first call on Yves. Is your hand still up? Okay, so if you have any question you would want to ask, you can raise your hand and then I'll call you. But let me address some of the comments in the section, the ones that needs to be addressed. But I would want to appreciate you for staying on. I'm sure it's because the content was very insightful. Let me quickly say that we would make the slides available to you. I have seen some of the comments and people asking if we would give the slides. Yes, we will. And then we would also give you the link to the recording. Yeah. So these two you are covered. I responded to some of them, some of the questions. So let's take it one after the other. But if you have a question, you can raise your hand and I'll call you. This is a mastermind forum, so it is sharing of ideas. James has provoked us to be thinking, and then we can share ideas. We won't be here for long. All right, so yes, you're asking about, Emmanuel, you're asking about the training, the PMP training. Yes, so the PMP training, when you are done, you can send your application, and then we at Step Up Business School, we help our students at no extra charge. We help them to put the application together and then send to PMI, and PMI will review your application, send you a response, and then you would be required to make payment for the exams. Judith mentioned about the payment. You'll be required to make the payment, $423 all put together, so it includes the membership. And then you would choose the date. After you have made the payment, you choose the date. Now, it is in two forms. You can either go and write in the center, which we have two centers in Ghana for now, one in Dansoman and then one at Total House. So you can choose any of them to write there, or you can choose to write in your office or in your house if you have a very cool area. You can choose to write at home, that is virtually. And many of our students write in the school, Step Up Business School, so you can also choose to come and write here. All right. Before I go on, so I think you are answered, Emmanuel. Before I go on, let me pick Ibi Agbanato. Ibi, you can unmute your mic and ask your question. And the question is for all of us. We would have discussion around them.
Thank you very much, Chief. I'm so happy about this presentation tonight. And
I am too.
I want to say that if we should have a series of this, we will be well elected a little of whatever we have been robbed of. From his presentation, I want to thank him so much. And there's a lot of exposition to it. What I want to ask is that, is it too late for us in Africa to recap with whatever we have lost? Because if we have seen the great university at Cairo, and you could see Kenya and other places, and it means that we have started, we know our own thing, we know how to do these things, and we have allowed ourselves. What has really gone wrong with us? Can't we still back up and pick up the pieces so that Africa will take up its mantle? The second question is our leadership. Is it maybe a revolution that we need to, take up people whom we know are not really doing the right thing? What can we do as Africans, young ones like us? We are getting itching day in and day out about the rot that is going on. What can we do to change the situation? Thank you.
I feel the urgency in your voice, Ibi, and then I feel the frustration, especially when when it's obvious that our leaders are not really ready to make changes, and they're also not ready to leave the mantle for younger people or people who can cause changes to do it. I feel it. I would let James add a voice to it, but let me add Blandin Akakpo.
Yep.
Your hand is up, yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much for everything. Even though I joined late, I was busy and my name is Brandon Akakwa. I'm based in Tamale.
Okay.
I'm the executive director for one NGO. We don't like to call it NGO because of the bad reputation of NGOs. we are a non-for-profit and charitable organization. We work with farmers actually.
Okay.
I'm charged to develop the foundation in Africa, where I'm the director for Ghana, and our Africa head office is in Tamale here.
Okay.
I am pretty much interested in the project management, which I wanted to do in the UK before, but because of time consumption and everything, I will be. I'm thinking about if I can join the May 29th group.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Now, I felt a bit concerned, but my brother who just spoke, IB Agbanato, it's a contribution I want to make though. We in Africa, our main problem is a transformational leadership problem. Everybody talks about leadership. Well, I think we tend to look at leadership with a different lenses, different paradigm. If you look at what we are going through in our country today, when you want to change, there's no way you can change somebody else if you yourself, you are not truly changed from inward, from inside to the outside. And talking about the youths, I'm sorry to say, but I'm in Tamale here, and there's no way. My first concern is the human resources. They will come with their CVs, everything nicely written, but the person can never assume what it is written on the paper. The youths themselves, they lack projects. Not that there are no projects. When we ask the youths about the vision for 5-10 years time, maybe the person will tell you first, I want to save money and get married. Only few of them will tell you that I want to improve on my skills and be a better person in 10 years time and do so. I have an instance where a guy came to work with me here. He was holding a phone of almost 4,000 cedis. And that person was desperately looking for a job because he cannot pay his rent. And when I tried to find out, it's 300 cedis a month. He cannot pay his rent, but in his hand, he's holding a phone of more than 4,000. I look at him and say, no, you cannot work with me. There's no way, because this person, if you don't know and you want to try and change him, you become his enemy.
Yeah.
So we have a fundamental mindset problem in Africa.
Yeah.
If Africa is to be a project, if care is not taken, it will fail again. Unless, unless we decide a revolutionary mindset change. And I mean it, a revolutionary mindset change, so that things can start to be done properly. By changing ourselves before we go and wish to or will or want to change another person. So I'll be joining your PMP. I need it in my work, for myself. And Africa, if Africa is a project, there will be a lot of work to do, but we need to take it as a project, because we are in Africa. We will not go anywhere. We don't have a two Africa. We have only one Africa. And we have a moral responsibility to contribute in making sure that we get a better Africa. If not the best, we cannot get the best, never. But a better Africa where every change must become with the human beings, the human resources. Yes.
Great.
Every change.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you. And then we'll be glad to have you in the class. So you would receive notification both via email and SMS on how you can join our class. But it's simple. You can go to the website and then you just register, or you can call Judith on 0244979769.
I think she's the one that has been chatting with me.
Okay. So yeah, she will help you to join the class.
024497, right?
0244979769.
Yes, yes. She's the one that has been chatting with me.
Okay,
She
great.
invited me for this.
Oh, amazing. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. So maybe because of time, we would have to be keeping our questions and comments quite short. I understand the urgency in people's voice, and it's quite frustrating, but I'm sure there's something that can be done. It's all hope is not lost. So before I bring James, I'm sure James is making some notes to share a few thoughts. But if you also have, because this is a mastermind, if you also have some thoughts on the questions that are asked, you can raise your hand and then I'll call you. So let me call Hafsa Mohammed. And then I see EB is back again with another question or comment. So let me first call Hafsa. Hafsa,
Yeah,
if you can hear me. Yes, please.
Yeah, good evening to everyone.
Good evening.
I actually saw the links to the meeting on a friend's page on WhatsApp.
Okay.
And I've been planning to do project management for a while now. So it was very insightful for me. And I was actually moved in, and I got me thinking a lot, like we are missing out on a lot that we are missing out. So I'm looking forward to joining your program. But
okay.
I have no basics in, I've not really done anything in project management. So as a beginner, can I still go ahead and join?
Yes, so when you call Judith, I'm sure we would be able to have a discussion with you. Yes, I can hear you. Can you also hear me?
Hello?
Hafsa, can you hear me? Okay. I don't know if I can be heard. Hafsa, can you hear me? All right. I was saying that
both of you.
Okay, sure. I'm sure. Okay, then I'm sure Hafsa has a problem. Hafsa, you need to fix it. But what I'm saying is that we can have a conversation and then we'll see how we can help you join the class. So let me, before I call Ibi. Okay, sorry about that. So please keep your microphones muted until you are called to make a comment or ask a question. So thank you for this from God's love. Thank you for such an insightful and inspiring delivery. Apart from the required contact hours for taking PM course, does one need to track, one need a track record of or experience in PM project management before he or she can sit for the PMP examination or certification? Thank you. Yes, you need, so Judy talked about 3 things that you would need as part of the requirements from PMI. You first need at least a diploma or a degree to enroll, and then you can still do the professional even if you have a PhD, but the minimum is a diploma to enroll. And then the second one is the PM training that we provide. So we will provide you with a training. So that will give you a certificate. It's called a 35 contact hour certificate, and then you proceed to write the exams. But the next requirement is the project management experience. So PMI wants to make sure that you have been in certain kind of projects so that it can certify you to go to the next level. Now, projects is not just the formal ones, but PMI accepts informal projects too. So that is where we can help you to put your project together and then see how we can push it for you to join the class and then write the PMP exam. All right, so Scholar is also complaining about the corrupt leadership, poor management of our economies, nepotism. Yeah, Africa is really white elephant, but I believe that there is hope for us. I'm very sure, and so we can all contribute to making Africa a better place. And then I think the first comment talked about the if we should have a lot of this. So yes, we'll be doing this every month. Every month we'll be having the training, we'll be having a forum, mastermind forum like this, so that we can enlighten ourselves to push ourselves to deliver better on our projects. All right, and then let me go on. So importing stones from Israel to build cathedral. Oh, okay. So excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Wow, wonderful presentation. Okay. Okay. I don't see any question. Okay, so boy Connie, I'm sure I got it right. What can we do to resolve the challenge of Africa as a field project? Okay, so I'm sure James will talk about that, or anyone that would want to address that. Thank you, sir. Thank you. All right, so let me come back to Idrisu. Idrisu, if you can ask your question.
Thank you very much. This presentation is very, very insightful. I think, like everybody has said, we should be getting more of this. And I'm glad to learn that we'll be doing that like monthly. My question is, in Ghana, most of the projects, like the engineering projects, are government sponsored, and we know the difficulty involved when it comes to payment, and that leads to delay schedules and then cost variations and all that. What can a project manager do in relation to this challenge? Because when it so happens, you are really handicapped, because without the resources, it's very, very difficult to deliver the project deliverables to the client.
Okay. Okay, James will talk about. So now, before I pick Akins, because it's getting a bit bulky, let me allow James to make comments about both the comments and then the questions that have been asked. James.
Yes, thank you, Charles. Thank you, Vladin Ibi and Idrisu for your questions. I'll start with the first, which was from Ibi, and about what to do to rescue Africa. You know, there have been a lot of talk about African unity, the need for Africans to unite, and all that. You know, there's been a lot of concern, a lot of forums. But I say, like things that are practical, start at home. Start at home. Your children, before you know it, they'll be older, getting married, running projects, running companies, and so on. But before you even start at home, how much do you yourself do you know? I mentioned the fact that we don't write, we don't read. Most people, when they have got a job, they have satisfied. They don't read, they don't buy books for leisure. And we see this when we train people. At times we train people, they don't even sit the exam. And at times people are not really interested in coming for the training, especially when the training is paid for by their employer. They don't show up on time, they miss classes and so on. So the commitment is not really there. So we need to make a decision that if Africa needs to change, first it starts with me. I need to change. I need to educate myself. I need to learn leadership skills. I need to learn entrepreneurial skills. I need to learn business skills. I need to learn money skills. Then I can train my little ones. Another thing you need to do is make sure that your children, they develop ethical and moral values. You are the head of the family, and your children are, look at the way children are dressing these days, the way they speak. You know, they are so interested in the rubbish that they find in television and social media. I tell people that I don't have TV in my house. And people think and I have a big family. There's a screen, but it's not connected to any channel. If they want to watch something, I download it for them. I make sure I know what they're watching, and I put it on a USB stick and they watch it. We don't even have time to watch things. What you get, all you get from TV is trash. Trash in, trash out. I don't spend my time in, I have a lot of things to do. I have a lot of books to read, a lot of research to do. I don't have time to be watching, Champions League and all the news that you get. So we have to, if you don't commit for excellence, you're not going to get excellence. So it starts from you. It starts from, the people in your household, your children, because those are the leaders of tomorrow. Of course, before we even go to talking about our politicians and all these other people, we give our politicians a free ride. We don't hold them accountable. They can do whatever they want. The reason they can do whatever they want is because nobody holds them accountable. Nobody holds them accountable. Look at the prices of things in this country. 3 times, 4 times the price, petrol. I don't have a car now. But I'm thinking, when I had a car, we were buying it at 5 cedi, 4 cedi. Now it's like 12. And nobody seems to bat an eyelid. When I train people in America, I always ask, what's the inflation? Oh, 10%. Oh, 8%. I tell them here it's about 50%. They're like, why? How do you guys cope? How do you guys cope? And we are still a poor nation. Ghana is still poor. So the politicians can steal the money, do whatever they want. Nobody holds them accountable. It's just a talking shop. It's just a shop. They're just playing a game at the top. So that is another part, holding our leaders accountable. Idris asked a question that one of my students asked. I'm sure he's here, Eve is here. He came to me and was talking about trying to get some more certifications. But he had this problem. He's doing construction work for the government, but they're not paying him. And then Idris says the same thing. How do you cope without the resources? It still goes back to what I'm saying. We have toxic leaders. You deliver the project, they do not pay you, and they don't care because they feel, well, they are connected to the head of police, they have this, they have that, so you cannot do anything to them. Toxic leaders, that's what I call them. But my question is, the engagement that you had with this person, did you have documentation? Because this is another thing with project management that I find that is really pitiful. We don't do documents. You ask, did you put a plan? Is there this document? No. So we are running projects from our head. So if you are going to engage in a contract work, is there a document that you can go and take the person to court? Because if not, if it was just like, okay, come and do this, we'll pay you this, just word of mouth, and you accept it because you felt, oh, I really need this thing, and it would be great to do work for this agency, but you didn't do your due diligence. You didn't cover your back, and if you get to a position where the person is just turning you around, it's going to be a problem. I don't know if I covered all of it.
I think, yes, largely yes, because they are almost all the same. So I think yes, but if there is no satisfaction or people want clarification, I'm sure they'll come back. We'll be attempting to wrap up soon. Let me address some of the questions in the chat room. Yeah, Idris, I'll come back. I'll come to you, sir. All right.
I want to ask a question, sir.
Samuel, okay, you ask.
Yes. Now,
I'll be grateful if you keep it quite short.
Yes. The question, how now, if I look at regimes, I believe that the system we are running as democracy is not helping we the Africans. Now, why am I saying that? State institutions are being polarized by those that we call the politicians. Now, how? We all call for intervention from military, that military is the only best way that we can be disciplined. How does he react to that one too?
Okay. All right, thank you. So let me add some questions from the chat. Great and very insightful presentation, very pitiful and thought-provoking. I agree with you, Emmanuel. I will see Zachariah. If Africa was a project, definitely unfinished project. Fantastic presentation, sir. Zachariah, good to see you here. Let's connect. Thank you for coming. All right. Okay. So, so someone is asking. So Tafa Isa is asking if there will be a certificate for participation. For this forum, no. But for the PMP training that we offer, yes, we would give you a certificate. Yeah. Okay. So how much do you charge for the training? Judith spoke about it. Please call Judith just because of time, because we have different fees for different sessions. So please call Judith and then she'll sort you out. So Hussein, you talking about you being a classroom teacher. We have teachers who are doing the PMP. So again, please call us. We'll check and then see how we can help you to join the class. Oh, Akins, I love this question. What is the validity of the certificate after going through the training? So PMI is like James said, is the biggest organization that awards certification in project management. And you can check up on them at pmi.org. And Step Up Business School is an approved authorized training partner of PMI USA. So it's very valid. And then the certificate can allow you to work anywhere in any part of the world, in any industry, because projects are done in any industry. And then like James also mentioned, with project management, especially the PMP certificate, you can switch jobs, you can get into higher paid jobs globally. So yes, it's very valid. All right. So there are a lot of questions about the exam. So please, if you have questions about the exams, kindly contact Judith. You have 10 years of experience, but without a diploma. Okay, so please let's talk. Let's talk. I'm sure we can find a way around it. So let me come back to. I have called EB before. Idrisu, you've spoken. Let me call Akins, and then please let's keep it short so that we can close the session. Yes,
okay.
Akins.
Yes. Good evening, everyone.
Idrisu, and maybe I'll call you after Akins, please. Yeah.
Good evening,
everyone. Sir. Good evening, sir.
Mine is a comment, and the question I wrote on the chat box has been answered, but I was specifically asking what is the validity of the PMP training that Step Up Business School. So I wanted to find out when, after going through the training, your certificate that was given will allow you to take the PMP exams itself.
Okay.
Then, yeah. Then the comment has to do with the one participant who was saying that he thinks that NGO has failed and he doesn't really want to use the word NGO. I wanted to say that we are not failed as he sees it, but just like James said, it starts from the individual. If he himself can make a difference, I think it will also help others, his followers and those who works under him.
Okay.
And
all right.
And on the lighter note, I would also want to comment on the James' assertion that he doesn't watch Champions League and other stuff. There's a saying that all works and no play makes a
Okay.
jack a dull boy. So that one,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Well, I see Emmanuel's comment too about the Champions League. Yes. All right. So thank you, Akins. Idris, would you still want to ask your question or make the comment?
Oh no, I think I'm satisfied with the response.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. Then let me come to Ibi. I don't know if I mentioned it right. Ibi Agbanato.
Yeah, the name is IB, not EB.
IB. Okay, IB. Sorry about that.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the second opportunity.
Okay.
In fact, I want to react to the one who spoke after Mr. Kapo.
Okay.
I'm not attacking, but I want to quickly say that, yes, he said somebody brought a CV to his office and it was rich, yet the person was incapacitated. Seriously, that can be alluded to poor leadership still like I talk about. Because our leaders that we had in the years past, all they have to do is people who will be saluting them. They do not have the mind of we preparing somebody to take over from them. That is the problem of Africa today. That somebody at the helm of affair will want to be there to be hailed anytime he or she is coming. So somebody behind that could be nature to take up will still try to stamp in their face. The second one is about our leaders today, what they all know, what they are best doing is, in Africa, for example, when you talk of PhD, we have different definitions. Seriously, PhD is not what we know, it's in books, how we pull people down. So a young guy who is coming up, they know that he is having the potential, they sit on his interest. Instead of nurturing that person, positioning him to take over from wherever, we do certain things, to even demean and make that person shattered. That is the leadership failure that we have in Africa, and that is killing us. It is not helping. I think that we don't need democracy in Africa, but what will best work for us is revolution. We need a military to take over all the African countries. I mean, the West African countries, we need them.
Sorry, my brother, we are not doing politics here. Please.
It's not political. Please, I'm not talking about politics.
It's fine. It's fine.
So we need to open up to the young ones that are coming. That we have the potential. If we are given the north, we
can I have
do
a
the
word,
best.
please?
You can.
Can I have a word? Yeah, please.
You can, please.
Thank you very much. Thanks, everybody.
But so because of time, we may not be able to allow the exchange. So if you can keep it short, Mr. Kapo.
Yes, I will keep it short.
Very short, yeah.
I personally, when I work up to the position of a high-level executive in DHL, and I left DHL as a deputy director. So, and I'm a psychologist by training. The person I'm talking about came to me. I was looking for an administration assistant. And when she came, on her CV, she's just like a typist. But she told me that she worked with someone, with a company, and she has not been paid for almost 2 years. That's the very person. And I took her out of humanity. Now, when she comes to the work, the first 1 week, if you see her face, it's like something is disturbing her. It's like she's frustrated. And I say, my dear, is there any problem? She says, sir, yes or no. I say, talk to me, I can help you. We are in Ghana. We know how much is being paid to people. Before my God and everything, I took her on probation and I was giving her 2,000 cedis on probation. Someone that I wanted to groom. Now, instead of going straight and say, let me help you to come up with your administrative decision, because she's having a personal issue, I gave her a book titled The Power of a Vision of the late Dr. Monroe. Do you know that this lady never read the book? Do you know what she did? When I shared her CV with my head office in Australia, they told me she's not qualified. But out of humanity, I took her, and she secretly took my boss, our CEO, our founder's email address. When I paid her the 2,000 cedis, Someone who cannot write a letter to be sent to radio and TV station here for communication. She sent a mail to my boss at my back that after all the months, I paid her only 2,000 cedis. And she had the time to convert that into dollars. That person is not the matter. She's just ungrateful. She doesn't want to do anything. And me, I share her CVs with all the recruitment agencies in Ghana with her picture, telling them that this is the type of person, when she sends a CV, wherever they will send her to, she'll go and cause a problem. Me, if I'm not trusted by my boss, and my boss asked me, Brandon, who is this person? I said, sir, this is this lady you say is not qualified, she's not employed. And I reply her mail. I said, Victoria, thank you very much. But be informed that all the time that you spend here, nobody in my head office is aware. It's out of my own humanity. I just wanted to help you. I wish you all the best. So it's not a matter of, there are people today in our Ghana, in our dear Ghana, who are in for nothing best than to destroy. They are not capable, they can't do anything. This lady cannot do Excel. She's not good in
all
words.
All right, Mr.
My brother, yeah, my brother, you understand my point? Yeah,
I do. Yeah, yes. I'm sure he understands.
Yeah, you see all of them going around with CV looking for jobs that do not exist. Because they themselves, they are not yet a good project. Starting from them.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Kapo. Thank you. So we'll attempt to wrap up. James, let me pick your final words, and then if there is no other question, we would wrap up, and we'll meet again next month. But James.
Yes.
Your concluding thoughts, please.
Well, I have posted on the screen Judith's number in case, because there have been some, I've read the comments, some people want to know, they want to get information about getting onto the training. So I hope everybody has Judith's number to contact Judith for that. So my closing thoughts is, I mean, Africa as a project is a big talking point. But the onus is on each and every one of us to do what is necessary to upgrade their knowledge. You know, in project management, we have what we call the project management triangle of competencies. You need to be good in project management. You need to be good in leadership. And we'll talk about leadership. If you want to be, you need to understand leadership and know how to lead people. We provide that for the training. And then the third part of the leadership, project management competencies is about strategic and business management skills. So the project management professional training is technical in the sense that it talks about project management knowledge, concepts, practices, tools, and techniques. But it also has a lot about leadership and a lot about management and business and strategy. And those are the points that I mentioned in our Hall of Shame. So there is this opportunity for us to improve ourselves being presented for us by Step Up Business School. And I, as one of the facilitators, and we are many of us, we are ready to welcome you, whether I want to do a weekend or a weekday. The flexibility is there to do it in classroom or, you know, through the medium of technology as we are doing. So you can be anywhere in the world and we can still train you. So I am happy by your comments. I just hope that it has sparked some thinking, and the next step will be to make sure that we improve ourselves. Why not starting from coming to do the project management professional training? Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Oh, thank you. So thank you all for signing up, especially if you have stayed to this point. Thank you very much, James, for this insightful and thought-provoking issues that you have raised to keep us thinking. All right. And I would want to say that if you have any concern, any help, you can reach out to us, and then we'll be happy to help you especially with what James said, that it starts with us, and then sometimes we would have to upgrade ourselves so that we can get into higher position, and then we can effect bigger changes. Okay, so let's do it, and then let's see our dear Africa blossom and become successful.
I want to say something just to buttress what Uncle James said.
Okay.
As that you can do the program everywhere. As I'm talking to you now, I'm doing the program. I'm in Sierra Leone now. I'm watching you live, and then so I'm just saying that it is true that the program can be done everywhere in Africa, everywhere. So thank you so much for your support, and I've been enjoying because you are doing a lot of things. That is fine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We thank you, Samuel. Thank you. Thank you. And just to add to that, we have students from from all over the world. We have students from US, from UK, from Canada, from Nigeria. So you meet a lot of people when you join. Thank you very much. Expect an email that would lead you to get the slides and the recordings from us, and then also you would get an SMS from us on same. Thank you and have a good evening. We'll meet again next month for another insightful discussion. God bless you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Right.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, everybody. Next time.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.